Chancellor, between now and the election, I suspect there will be a budget. Is that right?
Well, I hope there is, because I'm working on it.
Well, jolly good. We wish you well. Will you be telling us about the savage cuts to public spending that you will have to make, or will you buckle to the Prime Minister's wishes and hide them?
Well, look, I've been very clear that we're not going to do a spending review at this stage. We'll have to do one during the course of this year, because remember, we have fixed public spending up until the end of March of 2011. And my argument, right since the pre-budget report in 2008, was that we needed to maintain that spending because I reckoned we needed to support the economy, because I didn't think we'd get recovery established before 2011. Now, I know there's a difference between us and the Tories on that. They want to start cutting immediately after the election were they to win. I think that's wrong. I think that would risk the recovery. I think it would risk tipping us back into recession. But I'm not going to do a spending review just now. What I have said, though, is that we need to halve the deficit in a 4-year period. The structural deficit actually comes down by about 2/3 during that period. But as we go through this year, I think there will be a little bit more certainty that would allow us to do a spending review. But at the moment, and I'm not going to anticipate my budget and what I might or might not say.
I think a lot of people, including me, think, hang on, you just don't want to tell us because the news is so bad it will frighten the horses. Let me read you something that the Treasury Select Committee said, and this is a Labour-dominated Treasury Select Committee. Quote, "There is a sense that the Treasury, you guys, is using uncertainty to suit itself. We can see no good reason for the Treasury failing to produce illustrative figures for future expenditure."
Well, I don't agree with them. I mean, I think, I can understand why a select committee might come to that conclusion. But I think for us to produce a range of figures which might not actually turn out to be what you're doing, I don't think that would be particularly helpful. What I have said is, I've said that it is totally non-negotiable to reduce the deficit. Now, that puts a ceiling, if you like, on expenditure. I also, at the pre-budget report, I announced a reduction of spending about just for £57 billion. About 2/3 of it is spending, about 1/3 of it is tax. Now, I'm not going to tell you now what might be in the budget, but I think people see our direction of travel. I've made it clear the next spending review is we will protect frontline services and the health service and schools, for example, and police, but the rest of the spending review is going to be very, very tight. I've said before it'll be the tightest maybe for 20 years or so.
It's non-negotiable for you, but is it non-negotiable for the Prime Minister and his friends Ed Balls and Yvette Cooper?
Absolutely.
They understand this.
Absolutely. Gordon, at the weekend, when we were launching our spring campaign, made the point that we had to get the deficit down. Indeed, if you look at the 4 things that he set out, was securing the recovery, making sure that we've got sustainable finances, as well as making sure that we get growth and jobs in the future. We must get the deficit down. We are absolutely committed to that. There can be no doubt about that whatsoever.
Because the markets will take flight. You'll not be able to get away gilt auctions.
Well, we are, as you know, at the moment. But it isn't just a matter of the markets. It is a matter of the general public don't want to see their taxes going to serve as debt when the money could be better spent either on services they want or on them paying less tax.
How much are we paying each year in debt interest?
Well, you can see that the figures are set out.
How much?
Well, if you look at the figure at the moment, it's about 40, and it's
40 billion.
Yeah, that's right.
That's more than the entire defence budget.
But it is a lot of money. But the reason that we are carrying that high level of debt at the moment is because, as I said in the first half of this programme, our revenues dropped. When we went into this downturn. A quarter of our corporation tax receipts come from the financial services industry. The stamp duty went down. Income taxes have gone down. But every single country in the world has been hit by this. Now, you have a choice. Of course, there are some people who argued, the Tories argued that when this happens, like a business, you cut your expenditure. If we'd done that, more people would have been unemployed. There would have been more taxes having to be paid as a result. And it wouldn't have made any sense whatsoever. So this is a view that isn't just shared by me, it is shared by most other developed countries in the world. I think it's the right approach.
Let's assume that you've done the right thing, but the next right thing is getting this deficit down. You've
Absolutely,
said yourself,
yes.
Pain is to come for a broad section of society. That will inevitably mean a loss of state jobs, won't it?
Well,
Because if it doesn't, I don't see how you can achieve it.
There's nothing new in that. I mean, if you take, for example, the Revenue and Customs, or the Department of Work and Pensions, which has lost something like 30,000 jobs over the last few years, if you're cutting a programme or if you're postponing something, it has consequences. But remember, at the same time, part of our strategy is to make sure we can get the conditions right, where you get the private investment coming back in. And in the last 10 years, we've been very successful in getting people into jobs in the private sector as well as in the public sector. And indeed, one of the encouraging things at the moment is because of what we're doing in employment. Remember, most people are back in work within 6 months. Now, I think that is an example of where government intervenes. Yes, we had to spend some money on Job Centre Plus. The money has been well spent. But I really think to adopt a policy where, firstly, you refuse to support the economy when you're going through a traumatic period like this, or, as the Tories suggest, that you start to cut money now, at least I understand that's a policy as of today. That to me would be utterly ridiculous.
Let's sum up, because we're running out of time here. After the budget, you're going to be on the stump trying to persuade people to vote Labour one more time. As I see it, this is your 13-year record, economic record. Unemployment is higher than when you came in. The pound is worth much less than when you came in. Our gold reserves were sold off at rock-bottom prices. Our cash savings yield almost nothing. The stock market is lower today than it was 10 years ago. Our private pension system has been taxed into ruin. We are running record budget deficits, worse than anywhere else, and our stock of debt is heading for more than £1 trillion. Why on earth would anybody want to vote for more of that?
Well, what I'd say to you is that, yes, we've come through a very deep recession, so have other countries, but this election is
caused by your policies in part.
Oh, come on, this is a global recession. What I'd say to you is...
Our debts are worse than many other countries, most other countries.
America, Japan are greater, but this election is going to be about the future. It is about how can government make a difference to the chances of individuals to businesses to get through this recession, to get through into recovery, and to get growth for the future, the growth that will bring jobs. Government has a key role to do that, and the contrast is with a Tory party that would cut away support just now, one that does not accept that government can make the difference between the opportunities available to businesses and to individuals. And I think this election will be very much, yes, it'll be about our record, and I will stand by our record.
All of that record? You're happy to stand by all that?
I will justify to anyone the action that we took to get through a recession, but I'll also justify the fact that we have a better health service, we have a better education service, we've improved transport out of all recognition from the situation we inherited. Yes, we've got a good record, but this election is about two different competing visions, if you like, about the future of this country. And I believe the future of this country depends on the government taking the right economic conditions. Frankly, the Tories, who are all over the place here, completely flaky, that's a huge risk to our country and to our economy.
Chancellor, we'll see what the electorate makes of it. Many thanks for coming in. We really do appreciate it.